Hey guys, it's Ali, and let's talk about sleep. Sleep, it's one of those things that we as people need in order to function on a daily basis. The average person is recommended to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and missing that time frame can be absolutely detrimental to your health. For starters, a lack of sleep can lead to numerous problems with your health. However, a lack of sleep can even kill you as well. Yes, I just said that a lack of sleep can literally kill you, mainly because it affects our biology. Our body is designed for rest, and when you don't provide your body with the rest that it needs, it begins to affect your hormones and metabolism, which can lead to a lot of deadly health conditions. So that being said, don't miss out on sleep. It's important for all of us. But even though I said that, studies have indicated that the average American gets 40% less sleep than recommended. So with that in mind, I decided to make this video because if I am to be honest, sleep is something that I myself used to struggle with a lot, especially in high school. However, along the way, I managed to learn a couple of practices that helped improve my ability to sleep better. Now, I am in no means a sleep expert. I am just a guy who has an opinion and a camera to share that. This video is strictly for educational purposes only and isn't meant to diagnose any of you with any sort of sleeping disorder. That being said, I am confident that these practices that I'm about to share will improve your ability to sleep as well. So without any further interruptions, let me present to you all the science of better sleep. So let me ask all of you, what is sleep? What would you define as sleep? Sleep is defined as the natural stage of rest during which a person becomes physically inactive and unaware of their surrounding environments. With that in mind, it's also important to know that there are 4 stages of sleep. These stages are drowsy, light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Now, it's important to know all of these things as I will be discussing them. But before that happens, let me explain to you guys what these stages of sleep actually are. Drowsy and light sleep are pretty self-explanatory. What I really wanted to pay attention to are the last 2 stages of sleep, deep sleep and REM sleep. During deep sleep, otherwise known as NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep, all of our bodily functions begin to slow down. Your brain waves slow down while your body temperature starts to drop a little, and the person sleeping is relatively still. Non-REM sleep means there is no rapid eye movement in this stage. REM sleep, otherwise known as rapid eye movement sleep, actually occurs around 90 minutes after you fall asleep. This is where your blood pressure increases and brain activity increases as well. It is in this state that most of our dreams occur, and you breathe a lot faster too. All of this information is very important to note because in order to achieve better sleep, one must practice good sleep hygiene. Now, the term sleep hygiene is relatively new. It was coined around the 70s, so that may be the reason some of you may have never heard of it. The practice of sleep hygiene was originally used for people that had mild to severe cases of insomnia. However, the practice can be very much applied to anybody. What is sleep hygiene, you may ask? Sleep hygiene is similar to regular hygiene, as it is the condition or practice conducive to the maintenance of healthy, consistent sleep. So articulate. Now, there are several practices that fall under maintaining a healthy sleep hygiene, and I will cover all of those things. The first practice that falls under maintaining a healthy sleep hygiene is to avoid caffeine and sugar before sleeping. This is something that is pretty straightforward. If you guys chug a can of Coke or a cup of coffee an hour before bed and then wonder why you're so hyper when you're trying to sleep, then maybe consider cutting down on sugar and caffeine before you sleep. Now, there are numerous reasons as to why caffeine or sugar can affect your sleeping cycles, and the reasons are pretty obvious. Firstly, it disrupts your circadian rhythm by delaying it. Studies have found that consuming coffee before bed can actually delay your internal clock by up to 40 minutes. So that's probably the reason why you're tossing and turning at night. However, if you want a more scientific reason as to why it's harder to sleep when you drink coffee, it's because it blocks a certain receptor in your brain called adenosine. I hope I said that right. which usually builds up while we're awake, and the more that it builds up, the more tired we become. Whereas sugar disrupts the quality of your sleep, leaving you much more restless at night. But this also means that people who consume a diet high in sugar will have a much more time going into deep sleep or REM sleep. Now, another thing to consider for practicing good sleep hygiene is to avoid daytime naps. Again, I think this is something that seems pretty obvious. Like, if you sleep all day, it would be much harder to sleep at night, right? Now, with that in mind, it is very important to note that day napping is much more likely to give you insomnia at night, since you will be less tired at nighttime. If you want a more scientific approach for why you should avoid daytime sleeping, is because, as I was explaining earlier in the video, there are 4 stages of sleep, and sleeping during the day consists mostly of non-REM and REM sleep as well. With that in mind, going into sleep at night after a long nap will decrease your sleep drive, which then compromises your ability to achieve deep sleep or even REM sleep. All of this disrupts your ability to sleep at night. But besides that, napping during the day also leads to sleep inertia. I do think that sleep inertia is a feeling that all of us have experienced in our lives at least once. It's that transitional state from being asleep to being awake. It's really at this state that you feel more groggy and your performance levels are impaired as well. If you guys have ever wondered why some of you feel so out of it after taking a nap, then this is the reason why. However, just because I'm telling you all not to take a nap does not mean that you should not nap at all. The best type of nap I would recommend for all of you is a power nap, no longer than an hour in my opinion. Studies were conducted to show that people who took power naps reported feeling much more energized and alert, while people who took much longer naps felt more groggy and less alert. Another thing you guys want to do to practice sleep hygiene is to sleep and wake up around the same time. If you sleep and wake up at different times every day, then it's going to be very difficult to maintain a healthy sleeping pattern. In order to have a healthy sleep cycle, it is necessary that you go to sleep and wake up at pretty consistent times. If you don't, then that could be the reason you may well struggle with sleep. Think about it. Say one night you go to sleep at 2 in the morning, then wake up in the afternoon. Then the next night you have to be up at 9 in the morning, so you sleep at midnight. It's going to be hard for you to get the right amount of sleep if you aren't sleeping at the same time. With that in mind, it is important to practice sleeping at the same time, as it reinforces your circadian rhythm. The final thing to consider to practice good sleep hygiene is to have an actual bedtime routine. Now, this is something that is actually very important and can be the difference between you getting a good night's rest or staying up all night. It is important to craft a nighttime routine that works specifically for you. For you. Meaning that it should fit with what you need to accomplish in order to get some good night rest. Now, I'm not here to tell you guys how you should spend your nights, but what I am here to do is to provide all of you with a few small changes that you can adapt before you sleep. That being said, the best time to start your nighttime routine is about an hour before you sleep. This is because it will give you enough time to just wind down, really. Most of us are pretty busy people, and I think it's necessary that we are in a relaxed state before we sleep, because if we are all tense and jittery before we go to bed, it'll affect our ability to sleep. Another thing to do to practice a healthy nighttime routine is to log off your phone. I'm not sure if any of you guys know this, but most phones emit a blue light, which can reduce the levels of melatonin in your body. And when your melatonin levels dip, then it could be much more challenging to go to sleep. That's why it's best to remove your phone before sleeping, because the blue light can actually distract your brain. The last and final thing you guys may want to consider to build a good sleeping routine is to listen to sleep music. Now, I know the idea of sleep music sounds like bullshit, like how can music help us sleep at night? Well, I am here to tell all of you that I always listen to sleep music before I sleep, and it has actually helped me fall asleep and stay asleep as well. Sleep music consists mostly of binaural beats and even natural sounds, which all can help in relaxing your body. With that in mind, your brain then interprets these sounds as non-threatening, which then lowers your levels of stress, which then helps your ability to sleep. If you guys are interested in sleep music, I will link some down below in YouTube that I actually listen to. But that is about it for this one. Thanks for tuning in for this video. As always, I appreciate you guys. This is my take on how to sleep better. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Anyways, this is me signing off for this one. Peace.